from the master of mystery and suspense, Stephen King's Silver Bullet.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey, low energy today. Let's see if I can hype myself up and then not be able to sleep.
Each week on the podcast That Wouldn't Die, we discuss horror and science fiction films from the vault, guilty pleasures, and forgotten classics. This week, we're discussing the classic Silver Bullet, starring Gary Busey, Corey Haim, and others. So,
Why do you even put a question mark when you said it? When you said forgotten, a classic, since you demanded that we watch this, I don't know, made-for-TV movie, I'm guessing?
it was not made for TV.
What?
That's very offensive as far as I'm concerned.
And I'm sorry, for you younger viewers, I don't mean like HBO quality. No.
Well, okay, let me tell you this. I remember seeing this movie 100 years ago, back in the 80s. I don't even think I knew it was Corey Haim at the time. I don't think Corey Haim was a thing at the time.
No, he wasn't a thing until the Outsider, not the Outsiders.
Not in The Outsiders.
The damn vampires in Santa Cruz movie.
Lost Boys really put him on the map.
Yeah.
That is for show. But this was, I believe, and I'm gonna look and confirm this. I believe this is around the same time as Lucas. Did you ever see Lucas with Corey Haim?
Does that really seem like something I'm gonna say?
He was a special child freshman. Well, you had Winona Ryder was in that movie, young Winona. You had Charlie Sheen, Cary Green from The Goonies was in that one. Anyway,
who the hell that is?
This is neither here nor there. But I remember at the time, I enjoyed this movie a great deal. And what's funny is, I don't know if you even remember this. Faithful listeners, from time to time, our siblings will text us. And they'll say, I'm flipping channels and this crazy scene just popped up. What is this movie that we're watching? Because they think it's ridiculous or hilarious or some combination thereof. And it was the scene.
Hit the info button on their remote control.
They're old school. They go right to the source. So the scene that was texted to us is the scene in the church where everybody starts turning into werewolves. And there's the crazy like organist player winging their arms around. And I remember saying, just from this scene, I know this is Silver Bullet, because nowhere else do you see a scene quite this ridiculous in all of cinema, I would argue.
All right, I remember what I wanted to say. I'm trying to explain to young kids what a made-for-TV movie is, because It is not HBO, it is not Skinamax.
It's regular-ass TV.
Long ago, Mid-America used to watch bullshit sitcoms, and they were so successful with the flyover states that they went on to make these very special TV movies of low quality, but they would get like famous people. Like Stephen King had a made for like a mini series.
He had multiple miniseries. Yeah.
Some better than others. And let me tell you, the Salem's Lot, which still hasn't been properly remade, was such crap.
Oh, you had David Soul at his most triumphant.
I love David Soul. I had that beautiful song when he was also going to be a recording star memorized. I used to call the DJ K-Dez and say, would you play that? They're like, okay, Aaron. Like, because that's who I was.
And what is the song?
DJs.
What is the song? Do you want me to sing it?
All I
No, that's Jack Wagner.
That's Jack Wagner. Wait, it's going to come to me. Son of a... Start me off.
Are you ready? Don't give up on us,
baby.
That's it.
There's still just love. Oh my God, that was such a great song.
Such a hit, you haven't listened to it in 45 years. Love it.
It was his only hit.
Yep.
And he did have the David Soulful Eyes voice, but that's going back to the Wayback Machine. We're talking late 70s there.
You're telling me. I was 3 when this was a hit.
And Lance Kerwin.
Yep.
And is overly emotional, and both of them were so overly emotional. That's when people in all the movies, people get hysterical, so you start hitting them because that's
You smack them
calming.
when they get it when they
You
become
seem
hysterical.
agitated. Let me physically assault you now. Don't you feel better?
That'll snap you right out of it. Exactly. No question. Well,
Anyway, that's my explanation. It usually means low quality B-level actors.
Oh.
A sketchy story, and it has to be like, it can't be too intense because it would be on at like 8:00 and you didn't want to offend people. That's
Okay.
the quality that we're, and this could be on TV at 7:00.
Oh, yeah. No question. Yeah, I mean, we're talking a made-for-TV movie would be on ABC, NBC, CBS, one of the big 3. But it was kind of meant to be kind of an event, too. It's like, tune in, and you'll see Venus Flytrap from WKRP and Jack Tripper from Three's Company making
the sweet love.
a very special episode of Three's Company.
That could have been a pay-per-view event.
Absolutely. I mean, that was appointment. I mean, this was like obviously 70s through the 80s. When I was in high school, we're talking early to mid 90s now. You had the It miniseries where you had all the start. You had John Boy checked in on that one. You had everybody, like all the people, the famous. Well, I want to say all the famous actors who were like, the show had been canceled 5 years ago. So
but they were familiar and they were available.
Harry Anderson from Night Court was on that one too. Absolutely.
Lord.
All-star cast. But this is not here nor there.
B-level finest. And of course, Tim Curry as It.
Tim Curry, and he was great. He was great.
I never really saw all of that.
Well,
I can't not look at John Boy's melanoma, and that's what it comes down to.
Well, here's the reality about, frankly, both versions of It. The first half, dynamite, terrifying. Second half, blows, which is not a good way you want to do it. Frankly, you don't want to end up with
Did It ever come out?
Yes, and it sucked. Yes.
Maybe that's why I never saw it, because the first one was good.
First half was great. It was the kids were so good. We're now 45 minutes into this podcast, and we've barely scratched the surface of the Immortal Classic Silver Bullet.
What we're talking about is so much better than the Immortal Classic Silver Bullet, which I must say I'd never seen in my life.
Had you ever heard of it?
It seems like, to those that were late in coming to Stephen King, I remember some jibba jabba about it maybe when I was in college. But by then, I had passed on. Because I wasn't going to spend $40 for bullshit like
Pet Sematary.
Christine. Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
I sit and wait for once a year to save my babysitting money to get the hardback, because who can wait? And then you're like, what? This is it? Because you had all these super complex books before that with all these storylines going on. And then you give me like, I don't know, a saltine cracker. Where before I had beef bourguignon, now you give me a saltine. And I remember taking a book, throwing it across the room and said, Stephen King.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his books got longer and they got worse. Because oftentimes, which is a bad combination.
Right.
The issue, I mean, and Stephen King had this issue. I read all of his books. I think the last one that I was like, I'm definitely making a point. Like, every book that would come out, I was reading them all. And I think the last one I read was a book, which I can't even remember what it was about. It's called Rose Madder, if I remember correctly.
I read that.
And I was
every now and then I would dip my toe back in.
I read Gerald's Game. I read all sorts of, like, frankly, lousy. Not that good. And you're investing 700, 800 pages where you're just, there was that movie, the book, The Tommyknockers, where you're like, okay, good premise. Oh, it just ends? We don't wrap up, no resolution? We're just done. Okay, you don't want to take
I
another
can't
swing at
even-
the.
I can't remember what happened in Rose Matter. To me, it
I don't
seems to
either.
me like it was going somewhere, and then it had like some kind of M Night thing going on where you're like, what?
Right.
How you get this far and like ruin it?
Right. Where you just give up. Like Stephen King
Yeah.
just goes, you know what? I'm out. I don't know. I pulls the
Well,
ripcord and goes, publish it.
It's
I don't
like
know.
Anne Rice. I think they get to a certain level and they don't need editors anymore. They don't.
Right, how
They
dare
don't have
you.
someone going, nah, take another swing of that ending because that's bullshit.
Now, I think I said I had seen Silver Bullet back in the 80s, and I may have seen it since then, but I honestly have no recollection. This is the first time I've seen it in at least 20 years. At least, if not more.
This is the first time I ever saw it. One, I fell asleep in the first hour, and two, I had to watch it on Pluto, and Pluto kept skipping the last 10 minutes. It would go from a werewolf crashing through the wall to the end of the movie. So I had to rewind it and watch the same series of ads 3 or 4 times.
Oh, no. Not worth it.
Oh, yes. No,
Not
it is
worth it.
not. No. It made
Um,
Krampus look like genius.
It's a sad situation. It is truly.
So,
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. You want my 30-second review or
I thought you
what's
already gave it, didn't you?
I haven't even discussed it. I gave my
Okay.
30-second review of an
Hit me.
arc of Stephen King.
Give me your 30-second synopsis of Silver Bullet, for God's sakes.
Oh my God. Kid in the wheelchair with a jealous sister and an asshole friend. Small town. Looks like I think the Gilmore Girls probably lived like a block over. I'm pretty sure it's like one of those Hollywood sound stages. Anyway, so they all go to the same church. There's a freaking werewolf. There's a drunk uncle who of course all the kids love, and the parents are like, we're gonna get our children taken away from us if Uncle Gary Busey is around them any longer. But yet he's a technical genius and can build anything, yet he's a hobo. Anyway, people are dying. There's some werewolves. Yeah, it's like The Minister or something.
Spoiler
Except it's
alert.
Spoiler alert. It's like super werewolf, so he could always be a werewolf, but he gets extra angsty as the moon gets big. Anyway, of course, the kid in the wheelchair figures it out, and of course, Minister Wolfmaster. If you can't run over a boy in a wheelchair with your V8 70s beast of a car, then you deserve to get shot in the head with a silver bullet. The end.
The end. No
How's that?
question. These are important questions. Now, did you?
Wait a second. I want to say I
Please.
have never been a big fan of the werewolf. All versions suck.
Not
The only
true.
reason, okay, first of all, you're wrong there. The only reason it was good in True Blood was because, of course, they were hot. And then they were good in What We Do in the Shadows because they're funny and they're peeing on each other. So, boom. Other than that, I have yet. Tell me. Kevin's giving me for those viewers who are not in the same room with us. Kevin's giving me a shaky finger.
Shaky finger.
And
Absolutely.
the stink. So he wants
Okay.
to argue.
There
what's the
were a number
What's the good one?
of good
as?
ones. Now, I love The Howling. I know Howling's not your cup of tea. Fine. What about American Werewolf in London? You love American Werewolf in London.
I like American Werewolf in London, and when I first saw it, it was really good. But it does the same thing all the werewolf movies do.
What's that?
Just this 20 minutes of watching these assholes change. I don't want, if I see the hair grow and your jaw grow one more time, while the person is standing there just simply watching your 45-minute transformation when they could be in their car driving down the road. I am so over any of the transformation.
Well, you don't really see that in Silver Bullet because they didn't have the effects budget. So they just cut to the chase. Like at one point, you see his jaw
No,
kind of
you
do a little.
did. At one point, he looked like they took the Cornelius mask and just stretched it with their fist.
Yeah, that is literally a 10
I
second
wrote it
scene.
down.
10-second
Cornelius.
scene of the Cornelius mask, and then they're like, "We're good, we're good, we're done."
And it never looks good because whether they do a Wolfman where you're walking upright, or even Gary Oldman in Dracula, where he's running around, it still looks like shit.
Okay, I will say that Silver Bullet looks like shit. I mean,
Looks like shit, and the story's weak, and the acting's weak.
well, that's the other thing. They know it looks like shit, so they don't really get. You don't get a good look at it. It's a lot of like just a claw kind of chasing somebody in the fog. Here's a little claw, or it's like a shadow of somebody, like just a hairy dude jumping through the window.
Not even leaning into it. It's not crappy enough to even be campy.
No,
All
you're
I
right.
can tell you is Gary Busey is the star of the show. This
Gary-
is before Celebrity Rehab. I don't know.
Clearly.
I don't know if this is before or is after his near fatal accident that took him onto a bad turn or not. But he is the star of the show.
Well, I mean, here's the question. They call him Old Drunk Uncle. I mean, isn't it just Old Drunk Gary? I don't know if it was a character choice or if it was just Gary, you do you.
Gary, it's Tuesday. Come as you are.
Basically, don't worry about the script because there's a lot of moments in this movie where it's clear like he's just doing his own kind of ad-libbing. Like it's like bald-headed Jesus. It's like, what are you talking? What? No one wrote that down. That's a Gary line. That's
Gary
a Gary.
Was great. Gary was ridiculous.
Yes,
and is the star of the show.
There are multiple.
The rest
scenes.
of them F off.
There are multiple scenes of Gary Busey drinking wild turkey from the bottle in front of the children. In front of the children. He's like sitting there on the couch playing, I think he's playing cards with Corey Haim, and he's drinking wild turkey just right out of the bottle. Glug, glug, glug. Finally, the mom's like, Gary, I think she even called him Gary at this point. She's like, Gary, I don't think this is appropriate. Can we get an assistant director out here to hit him with a taser gun or something? I don't know.
It was a different time. They did things differently, Kevin.
Gary definitely did. That's for sure. Ain't no question.
I literally wrote Drunk Uncle Busey.
He's absolutely Drunk Uncle Busey. Do we know what's wrong? It's true. Do we know what's wrong with Corey Haim? Do they ever explain why he's in a wheelchair? Could be polio.
Polio. Could be, I don't know. No.
Could be. I don't think they ever explain it.
Freakish human strength. So I don't know if Pretorius or whatever his name was, who is
Oscar Pretorius,
if he could just jump out his window and just climb down with his hands down the trellis. Apparently, he could shoot his girlfriend to death through the door without the use of his legs. So maybe anything's possible.
Anything is possible. No, you're right. I wrote that down.
I don't want to limit him just because he's in a wheelchair. He could be capable of terrible things too, just like everyone else.
He is handy-capable. Multiple times, Corey Haim, who is not a murderer, by the way,
that we know of.
Rest in peace, Corey Haim. Multiple times, he performs bizarre acrobatic moves without the use of his legs. Now, there are times where it's like the sister's calling him, "Where are you? Where are you?" And he's just in a tree. How the hell did you get up in the tree? What do you do? You don't have legs.
Drunk Uncle Busey clearly got one of those cannons from the Depression era carnivals where you would shoot the man out and they would just shoot little Corey up into the tree. Maybe that brought about all the drugging and the drinking and the wild turkey.
He's in a goddamn tree multiple times. One time he sneaks out of the house. He's on the second floor, which, by the way, if you have a child in a wheelchair, why is his room on the second floor? It just seems cruel at this point.
Well,
He
true.
so he escapes. He's sneaking out. He literally climbs out the damn window. He does not have working legs, and I don't even know how to describe this. Like Spider-Man, where he's hanging onto the trellis. He must have arms like Arnold Schwarzenegger, dragging himself down. Kind of like Gary Oldman in the Dracula, frankly, where he just scaling down. He does not have working legs. Okay.
But Drunk Uncle has built 2 motorcycles that are street legal. I just want to know the first version. Is he just riding in the classroom with just diesel exhaust spilling out the back? Because I'm not sure I really saw a regular wheelchair.
He has a regular wheelchair that he uses in the house because they pull him out of the turbocharged. This is the crazy. When the movie starts, you see him in a wheelchair that has got like an engine. So he's constantly like revving it. Yes. When he's outside, he's in the turbo diesel, like zipping around. But again, when Uncle Red changes it to the Silver Bullet, which is now not even the pretense of a wheelchair, it is a motorcycle. Yeah. This is can you drive a motorcycle on the highway when you are 12 years old? Yeah. Do you not need a license? He's going town. He is going faster than the cars so he's going 60 miles an hour on the highway as a 12-year-old. And no one says anything. He's going faster than the Preacher Werewolf, who has a V8, the finest steel Detroit ever made, and was able to dodge that. A car the size of a boat. A car as wide as a lane and a half. Yes, he's being chased by the priest's Monte Carlo. Okay, and he's out running with the V8 with the blower. Fuel injection, yes. It was like Smokey and the Bandit out there. Did you figure out that the priest was the werewolf before they revealed it? No. But trust me, the wheels were not even turning. I was just sitting there going, what the hell? Well, because that's supposed to be the big reveal, right? It's like, so, go ahead. I didn't get it until I started having the dreams, and then I wasn't even sure that was a dream at first. I was like, "Oh, okay, so everybody's a werewolf," and then it's over, right? No. Well, that's the thing. Earlier in the movie, the priest has the nightmare that we talked about. He's not a priest. He's a minister, some kind of Baptist or one of these Protestants. He's not a priest. He was dressed, he had the collar and everything, but you're absolutely right. He's not a priest. But he has the nightmare about the werewolves, but he doesn't change. It's like everybody else changes and they kind of are attacking him in the dream. So later in the movie, on that night when Corey Haim sneaks out because Uncle Red, 4th of July was canceled because frickin' their bodies just in the street. This is a city of 30 people and half of them been killed by a werewolf attack. So Uncle Red gives him some illegal fireworks to use. And this is a hallmark of a great uncle. There's a murderer on the loose. I'm suggesting you sneak out with your useless legs out into the night. And while the mass murderer is loose and bodies are popping up every 5 minutes. That's correct. And what you could do is go out in the middle of the woods and then light off fireworks so that every psychopath and sex fiend in the 3 counties will be able to track you down, lickety split, if you will. It's like a very disturbing Uncle Buck. It absolutely is. Well, Uncle Buck is questionable. No question. I mean, he's questionable. This one is going to get your child taken away. And for good reason. And for good reason. Frankly, if he's your uncle, you should turn yourself in to Child Protective Services. So he's attacked by the werewolf out on the bridge. but he shoots the werewolf in the eye with one of his bottle rockets, Boop, right into the eyeball, and he manages to escape. Later, they're trying to figure out who's the werewolf. It's somebody with eyeball damage. So there's this weird thing where it's like the older sister is going door to door collecting cans there's some kind of recycling drive going on, and she goes
Give
to
me your
every
damn cans. It's like an aggressive homeless person. Instead of just digging through your trash, they're banging on your door. Where are your cans?
Where are your cans? And I guess it's some kind of thing where it's like, kids all over the neighborhood collect as many cans and bottles as they can, deposit bottles, wherever the hell they are, and bring them to the church to just get thrown into the church garage for there's like no rhyme or reason. Anyway, so
that car uses a lot of gas. So maybe that's
right, exactly. Could be. So she goes, and of course she's gone to the entire town. Nobody has an eyeball. There's one point where there's a dude laying in like the barber chair with like the hot towel wrapped around his head. And she goes and kind of, hey, Mr. Johnson, how are you doing? And peels it off like slowly. So you see one eye's okay. And is looking at her. And then she peels it. So you see the other eyes looking at her. I guess he's okay. Yeah. It's like,
between the two of them, they're checking everyone's eyes in the community. They're like little children of the damned.
Exactly. So at this point, she's like, well, clearly my little brother's making up stuff. Even though it's like she hates him, even though we've established like he's basically just an angel. He's an angel born with poor rotten legs, basically. But he's like the sweetest kid. He's like so nice. He loves his sister. Oh, I'm sorry, Sally. But she hates his guts. So she goes to the church.
End, it should have been a twist because she narrates it, and she could have been like the twist would have been she's narrating it from a jail cell because
Yes.
Eventually she did kill her brother. That would have been a boom.
That would have been a boom. I wouldn't have seen that coming. That's for damn sure. But what's interesting about that, and we'll talk about that some more, is the fact that it takes place in like 1977 or something for like no reason at all. Like in the slight past, takes place 5 years ago, and we're going to have like an older woman do the narration. It was the summer I hung out with my younger brother who does not have the use of his legs and drives around a turbocharged wheelchair.
She started smoking in prison, so it's 5 years later. Her voice has dropped 3 octaves.
Yes, she is Wheezy from the Jeffersons at this stage of the game.
Good times. Oh no,
that's good times. What is the theme to? Beans don't fry in the kitchen.
Beans don't burn on the grill.
That's trying just to get up that hill. Anyway. So she goes to drop off the cans and bottles in the minister's garage. She's like, "Oh, Janie, go throw those things in the garage." And then she rolls up and she's like, "Oh, I'm so angry with my brother, And the priest turns around and he goes, "Yes, brothers can be tough." And he has one crazy like Uzi rack over his eyeball. He's the one. He's the werewolf.
He has one eye socket that looks like a dried apple.
It looks like a dried apple. Now the movie
it's just a garage full of trash. Is there a reason you can't recycle these a little at a time? We got to wait till the entire garage is filled with cans and rats, or what's the deal?
You have to. That's a rule. You have to wait until it's filled with so much refuse that there's bizarre critters just crawling in and out of there by the bushel.
One of them being a werewolf. So the movie plays kind of fast and loose. Does he know? I mean, he knows he's a werewolf, but does he remember things that go down when he is a werewolf? I'm not sure. What do you think? Well, he knows who shot him in the eye. He was full wolf mode then. Well, and that's the thing. It's like when he says it, like brothers can be tough. It's kind of a loaded question because then later he's like, "Why don't you come inside, Janie? We could have some lemonade together." And now he could rape?
That's the question. Is he a werewolf or just a pedophile? We'll leave that up to you. Who's to say?
Maybe he could be like that minister in that the book we read, Crossings.
Crossroads.
Crossroads.
Yes.
It could be like the book Crossroads, where he's just socially out of it.
Yes, could be. Now, I think we're supposed to think that he does not remember because he figures out that Corey Haim knows who he is because Corey Haim starts sending him threatening letters. Remember? Why don't you just kill yourself with these letters that he starts sending the minister?
Oh,
Okay.
but now he could be prosecuted. You can't convince people to kill themselves.
No, you shouldn't do that.
I think in the 70s it was okay.
In the 70s, anything, frankly, well through the 90s, anything goes. But the fatal flaw in Corey Haim's plan is that the last letter he sends, he signs it with his name. It's me, the kid in the wheelchair. Flobberty flea.
You can't get me. I'm in a wheelchair.
I'm the gingerbread boy. So So of course, like he sends the letter saying, "Kill yourself. By the way, it's me, Corey Haim."
God bless.
God bless. Next day, he's being chased down by the ministers El Camino. So yeah,
I thought you said it was a Monte Carlo. Now is it an IROC Z?
It's an IROC Z. Absolutely.
It keeps morphing. I want to say it's a Lincoln, a '68 Lincoln Continental.
Yes, it's a Pontiac GTO. I don't know what it is.
And he still couldn't catch the kid in the wheelchair.
Could not. Absolutely. Very
deserved to die, Wolfie.
Well, so the next day the priest is trying to run him down and is brazen about it. There's like cars driving the other direction. He doesn't like cover his face like, "Ooh, I better slow, keep it easy." No, he's like, he basically flipped off the other driver. "I got a kid to kill. Would you get the hell out of my way?"
Honk, honk.
Burr, burr. Don't you know it's me, Father O'Reilly? I don't even know what the character's name is. Anyway.
It doesn't matter.
Well, and then so he corners Corey Haim on the covered bridge, which is like fallen in disrepair. So of course Corey Haim can't escape. Minister comes in and he's just basically like, "I'm gonna kill you now." And meanwhile, their tractor rolls by. "Oh, Farmer Jenkins, help, help!" And the priest is just like, "Ooh, I didn't see that coming. You're calling for help? Oh, I'm out. I'm out later."
I didn't expect you to call for help, nor did I ever expect anyone else to be on the road in whatever bizarre New England town, in the bridges of Madison County.
The bridges of Madison County. Absolutely. So, again, he's like, "Ooh, I guess I can't kill you at this moment, even though you know who I am and you know what I'm up to. I guess I'll catch you later." And then he moonwalks out of there. So, good Lord. But I guess it all works out.
The minister, Jim Neighbors or whatever his name is, just tried to murder me. Did he tell frickin' anyone besides drunk uncle?
He told his sister, who eventually believes him, and then they both go to Uncle Red, who drops the bald-headed Jesus. Does not believe them, but then he goes and he inspects the silver bullet, which of course has been damaged because it was rammed into repeatedly by this car. He goes, I guess there's some kind of evidence. And then he goes,
"I'm sorry,
Go
even
ahead.
if it is a 4-wheel motorcycle, like a quad,
Yes.
when an El Camino, when a Monte Carlo, when a 1970s V8 car made out of not even steel, I think it was made out of iron. It weighed 10,000 pounds. It weighed as much as an elephant.
Yep.
Coming at you full speed, you're not going to get a little dimple by the wheel.
When a 1983 Cadillac Eldorado bears down on you like this, okay,
He ain't got no Cadillac money.
There's good when it's a 1987 Lincoln Town Car coming at you. There's going to be some residual evidence. So of course there's like a bent fender or something.
Yeah, barely a bent fender. They should have popped that boy like a grape.
Oh no! His head should have just shot right off, like you shake up a bottle of soda, champagne cork.
They should have poured what was left into a drinking glass.
Right. He should have been liquefied. I think is what we all agree.
I think that's it.
So Gary Busey goes and tells the sheriff, played by Terry O'Quinn, a young Terry O'Quinn. You have no idea who Terry O'Quinn is?
No.
He was in the Stepfather movies, those horror movies from the 80s.
Oh, I never saw those.
Stepfather and Stepfather 2. More recently, he played John Locke on Lost. Did you ever watch Lost?
No, never.
Okay, then you're of no use to me at this
The
thing.
only
Very
other
upsetting.
cast member I wrote down was James Gammon.
Who does James Gammon play? Remind me.
At the very beginning, he gets
Oh,
killed.
yes.
I remember him from Urban Cowboy.
He was also in Major League. Right.
Yes.
He's
Great character actor.
He's great. He's got that voice. He's got a gravelly voice.
Oh,
he's great. He gets killed. He's the first victim of the werewolf because he's out working the rails or something. He has some kind of railroad job. I don't know what it is. The werewolf pops up and literally just knocks his head off and leaves the body like on the tracks. And people think like, oh, well, old, Hobo Joe was a drunkard and therefore just fell asleep with his neck just on the train track. So that's why his head got lopped off. Ignoring the fact that he also had like one of those carts that would have been also laying on the track, which would have caused a derailment, which would have killed 1,000 people. But let's just ignore that as well.
Okay, we got to go back to the werewolf. Why
Please.
werewolves kill? They don't eat them. They're just angry because they're angry because they got to stay up all night and they're sleep deprived. Why are they so angry that they just go around ripping things up? I mean, in Jurassic Park, I mean, they're eating them.
Right. Well, this is a question. I think it depends on the movie. Honestly, I think it depends on the movie. Some some werewolf movies, it appears as though they do try to eat their victims. But I mean, is it just a wild animal and you've wandered into their path? You know what I mean? Like a bear won't try to eat you, but they will F you up. If you mess with a bear,
if they're hungry, I assume they're omnivorous. If they're hungry enough, they'll take a swallow.
They'll take a little nibbledy dibble. And frankly, this werewolf looks more like a bear to me anyway. Frankly, tell me I'm wrong.
It's a bear wolf.
It's a bear wolf or a weird bear, I guess. One of the two.
Now,
who's to say?
I know you're trying to slip into your D&D. So
in Dungeons and Dragons, there are multiple weird types. Okay, that you will meet on your adventures. Okay,
we're rabbits. We're guinea pigs. We're gerbils.
That is correct. The most deadly of all. Do you have any other thoughts and feelings you want to share? This movie is ridiculous.
Oh my God. Well, at one point, Father O. Wolfenstein tries to convince Corey Haim that he's doing the Lord's work because one of the people he killed was going to kill herself because she was got knocked up by having an affair with a married man who gave her the old, hit the high road. So he killed her. So are we supposed to then believe that? So that way she can go to heaven because she was murdered and she didn't commit the sin.
Yes.
So is he a savior? Is that it? And he saved it's like they're in Finland and everybody's about to off themselves after the long winter and COVID. So that, to save them from all killing each other, killing themselves. Is that what we're supposed to believe?
we can't abandon the immortal line that the guy who knocks her up says. He says, "It's your oven, but it ain't my bun."
Let's see
Immortal.
what Jerry Springer has to say about that.
No question. No question. She goes home and starts popping these thick red pills. I don't know what these pills are, by the way. Are they diet pills? Who's to say? Cyanide capsules? I don't know where you get such things. No-dos?
I'll
Something.
just do no-dos until my heart bursts into flames.
That is correct.
Oh my God.
Later.
When I was in high school, all the girls tried to kill themselves by eating no-dos and Midol. That was always a big suicide attempt in high school.
Maybe you should have taken a hint. You know what I mean? If all your friends are trying to commit suicide, I don't know.
I was just wondering if since you took a whole bottle of Midol, does that just cover you from cramps for then the rest of the year?
For the rest of your life. It just knocks them right out. Boom.
I have some quotes.
Oh, please hit me.
Execute them all to balance the goddamn budget.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yes. Who was he? He was like the angry kind of barroom lawyer.
Girlfriend's father, drunken father.
So that's what it was.
That this town is too nice to be, well, there are no people of color in this town, so they needed some racism. So it's going to be the guy who's angry and mean to the wheelchair kid.
That's correct. Yes, I do remember. Yes. The cute girl, he walks the cute girl home, little Corey Haim in the wheelchair, walks her home. She gives him a kiss on the cheek. She mentions, my dad's a horrible asshole, so or I would invite you in. But by the way, there's a crazy shed over here that there's constantly weird, scary noises in there. I'm not going in there. Just FYI, apropos of nothing, there's a scary shed constantly.
I'm pretty sure her dad was like John Wayne Gacy or like the Highway 99 killer. That was his sex dungeon.
Well, good thing he also had a greenhouse. So, you know, he believes in kind of the organic growing of crops as well. So he's not all bad. I think we could agree.
Did you notice when they were at the funeral for Mr. Urban Cowboy?
Yes.
That they were just randomly doing the wave? Like half the row is going in one direction, the other half is going in another direction in this weird seesaw, which you would not do at a funeral or any other time?
I think that was the werewolf dream.
Are you sure? Because whenever Corey Haim would talk, whenever anyone would talk, but Corey Haim was in the background, they made a point of having him in a weird position so you could see his face fully.
Yes, he would sit up at those moments.
A true and awkward, weird poses. So, I mean, when the people in the front row were talking, yet you still had to see Corey Haim in full focus.
That's important. I think that's important. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, there's the scene. There's the scene when the townsfolk play vigilante to go hunt down the killer because they don't know it's a werewolf at this point. And there's like 8 or 9 of them who are like in this swampy, like foggy area. And
again, you only search for murderers at night.
Absolutely, only at night and only in the swamp. That's pretty much how we do it. But of course, they're attacked by the werewolf, who promptly kills about half of them. Now, do the other half go like, "Hey, damn, there's a werewolf on the loose," or they just go like, "We're just not going to mention it to anybody. It's all good. We'll just keep it to ourselves." Did you notice that?
It's ridiculous. No one. It's like the pilots who see UFOs. No one will believe us. But didn't half of them get eaten anyway?
I'm trying to think, because who gets, like, couple randos get killed. The dude who runs the bar, who's got the baseball bat, Lawrence Tierney, has the Peacemaker baseball bat.
Right.
And that's a whole nother issue. So later in the movie, what's her name? Sally. I don't remember the sister's name. She goes into the garage to deliver the cans and bottles, and she finds the Peacemaker baseball bat all jacked up.
Right.
And so 2 people are killed by the werewolf by being beaten to death with a baseball bat.
Because what's the point of being a werewolf then?
Exactly. Makes no
Is
sense.
he a werewolf? Do we know he's a werewolf? Maybe he's in like some kind of Yeti costume. Maybe he's a furry.
Maybe he's a Yeti. Who's to say? It doesn't always have to
He's
be a werewolf.
Furry. He's
Absolutely.
a Yeti furry. I mean, werewolves don't need to use tools.
They don't. They can. They have opposable thumbs, but they don't have to.
All right, let's think about this. Was
Yes.
he really a werewolf?
Yes.
Could he have been, like I said, a furry? Because in the end, they kill him. Nobody shoots him any other time. At the end of the movie, he gets shot in the head with a silver bullet.
Yes.
If it was any other bullet and you get shot in the head, you're going to die. Where is the real evidence that he is a werewolf and not just a weirdo?
To answer your question, I think, why can't he be both? You know what I mean? A weirdo and a werewolf.
All right, I have a quote for you. I want you
Please.
to tell me what it means. There is no comfort. Ha 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 ha.
I have no idea. That sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't remember the context or the situation. So who's to say?
All right, one more comment.
Please.
This has got to be from the idea of Drunk Uncle when he gives the children a grocery bag full of Roman candles and instructs the child to hold the bottle rocket in his hand. Now, as a stupid person that I am, I have in fact done that. And let me tell you, it's not good.
Oh, I can imagine. Your hand's going to get burnt from the sparks that shoot
Fire.
down, assuming that it doesn't just blow off your hand. So
Blow off your hand, or you drop it, which in what... Because you have to drop it, because otherwise your hand's going to catch on fire.
Right.
And then it shoots off and kills your mom.
Right. These things happen. Very upsetting. Very upsetting. Any last thoughts or feelings on Silver Bullet?
Nothing. I got nothing for you.
There are multiple scenes. In the climax of the movie, they send Corey Haim and his sister's parents off somewhere.
Yes.
Why?
They're like... Because it's Halloween and they know mom and dad will try to stop them because the shit's going down. They're trapping the werewolf.
Okay.
Do you think
so?
Drunk Uncle is throwing around a 45.
That
with
is
a
true.
Silver bullet.
That is true.
Do you think that they would have called the Popo and Drunk Uncle would be drunken it up with Otis back in Mayberry?
That is true with Otis. Well, I mean, they'd been calling an empty line because the sheriff has already been killed because he went to investigate the werewolf in the middle of the night of the full moon as well. What is wrong with these people? Anyway, shall we go behind the scenes?
Go for it. Well, you know the werewolf. All these things relate to sex. They could all be like a version of Dr. Jekyll, where you're trying to suppress your animalistic side. So maybe this is some kind of a gay thing. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I do not think that's the case.
He's a minister, but he's trying to suppress maybe his homosexuality. There's some confusion, and it causes anger and rage that is let out because mostly he kills other men, with the exception of the suicide.
I'm not going to speculate on the subtext, the hidden mystery behind the words that are on the page, but I will ask you this.
Yes.
There's no explanation as to how the priest becomes the werewolf. He's not new to the congregation. You keep correcting me on, I don't give a damn. Rabbi, monk, whatever you want me to say.
There's never a rabbi in these situations. That's what I would like to see.
Very upsetting. Anywho, he's not new to the parish. He's not new to the congregation, right?
Yeah.
So did he just stumble upon a werewolf on his travels and then Like last
Okay.
week, become a
I
werewolf?
can answer this. Maybe he decided to be a little risky and he ventured out of his comfort zone and he went to one of those like all nude resorts like we have in Palm Springs and decided to, you know, free himself. You know, he decided to give it a chance. And maybe
I
he
see.
liked it too much, and that brought in feelings of guilt based on the oppression of religion. And when he got back, and it's one of these things, any man that strikes your fancy must be destroyed because it's bringing out my urges. Ba ba ba.
Sounds good to me.
No?
Shall we go behind the scenes?
Are you not feeling that direction? It really it makes the movie better if you think about it that way. It means it has some meaning, even if it's my made up meaning.
That is sad but true.
It's either that or it's the furry thing and he was never a werewolf. Which one would you prefer?
Neither, frankly. Both are giving me the heebie-jeebies. Anywho, I'm not judging. If you're a minister who's a furry who prefers the company of men, God bless you. God bless you. I don't judge. Anywho, behind the scenes, are you ready?
Is there anything furry related behind
Not much. Not as much as we'd
Okay.
like, I'm sad to say.
Go for it.
According to the director, Gary Busey ad-libbed a great deal. Shocking, I know.
I think it's because Drunk Uncle was too drunk to remember his lines.
Well, here's a question. Why is his name Uncle Red?
I don't know.
Doesn't
They
have
call
red
him Red.
hair. And in the book, he's
Yeah.
called Uncle Al. Was this just a Gary Busey? He just said, hey, I think you should call me, how about you call me Uncle Red instead? I don't know what
They can't
accent
call
I'm
him
doing
Big
there.
Red because that's I'm not sure because I think they should have the weird accents that they had in the Birds. Since it's
Absolutely.
like some New England, Mid-Atlantic, I don't know, jibba jabba.
I mean, we assume this movie's supposed to be like Maine because it's Stephen King, but half the people have Southern accents. So it makes no GD sense.
It makes
Who knows?
And where's Gary Busey from? He's something like Texas or something.
He's from Mars.
He is from Mars, and he is returned.
The Wolf Dream sequence utilized a total of 70 extras that were divided into 4 groups with various levels of makeup and costumes. So the
Farther
principals,
back, the less makeup, and then they brought out the Cornelius masks.
that's correct. So the people up front were full Cornelius. People in the back, they were just naturally hairy people. They didn't do much with. Very sad. You're going to be shocked when I tell you that shooting started without a proper werewolf suit. I know.
And it ended without a proper werewolf suit.
This was a big bone of contention because Dino De Laurentiis, who was the producer, did not like the suit. And he demanded that they get a different one. But the director and Stephen King, who also wrote the screenplay, thought that this one was the best. And literally were like, we will stop filming. We will walk away unless you agree to go with this horrendous, this Yeti costume.
That's Dino De Laurentiis, the person who brought us the best version of Romeo and Juliet. I love Dino De Laurentiis.
Dino De Laurentiis? I think that's Franco Zeffirelli, I believe.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It.
Dino De Laurentiis brought us another crappy version of King Kong in the 70s. How's that grab you?
I don't even believe you. Oh yeah, with Jessica Lange.
And Jeff Bridges. There you go. Let's see. This is the first and only film directed by this director. The first and last. Very upsetting. Corey Haim became good friends with Gary Busey's son, Jake Busey, because they were about the same age. And I guess the fact that Corey Haim was doing so well, being so successful, was what encouraged Jake Busey to become an actor. Not his crazy father, but Corey Haim. So
who's Jake Busey?
He's the son of Gary Busey.
But
you've seen him around.
I mean, what was he in?
I don't know. What am I, his biographer? He's been in some things. You can look it up.
Some stuff.
You can Google it. Google it. You may not know this, but this movie was based upon the novella Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King. And originally, it was going to be released as kind of a special calendar. So each month would be like a different chapter of the book. So basically each vignette in the movie was supposed to take place during a different month when the full moon was out, essentially.
And so what happened with that?
It got too unwieldy to have like an entire chapter on like a calendar. Each month there would be a chapter of a book. So they just released it as a book.
It would be like a mini series. And you're right, it's Franco Zeffirelli. I thought Dino De Laurentiis maybe produced it. You're 100%. You're right this time.
You're right. You're always right. That's from Presumed Innocent.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
I don't know what else to say. I'm speechless. You have not seen Presumed Innocent?
No.
Presumed Innocent is dynamite.
Is that the one with the Amish?
No.
Is there a werewolf in it?
Yes, there is a werewolf in it, though. The movie where Harrison Ford is a prosecutor accused of murder is Presumed Innocent. The movie where Harrison Ford joins an Amish community to escape the mob is Witness. Never the twain shall meet.
Always on the move. Always on the move.
Always on the move.
He kept running so fast, he eventually had to jump on the Millennium Falcon and fly away.
Sad but true. That's all we need. I think we're good to go. Shall we talk about the cast?
Oh, let's.
Let's indeed. Well, I just closed the screen, so you're going to have to give me a second. Good Lord.
What is that about? Why are you closing screens?
Because I lost my mind. Here we go. Gary Busey.
Yep.
Played
Famous
Uncle.
For Celebrity Rehab. And was he on The Apprentice also?
He played Uncle Red. He's famous for the Buddy Holly story, of course. I knew that.
He got Academy Award.
He was in Point Break. He was in Lethal Weapon. He was in Under Siege. He's been in a bunch of movies. And you know what? Generally speaking, I enjoy Gary Busey a great deal. Pretty much. And he's actually a better actor than you'd think he'd be. You think it'd always be he's playing Uncle Red in every movie. He is not. He oftentimes brings a little bit more range to his performance. So there you go.
He's in Sharknado 4.
Oh, Jesus.
And he had a TV show, Gary Busey, Pet Judge.
I might have to check that out.
And the two things I most admire him for were he was on the Celebrity Apprentice.
He was. He was on Celebrity Apprentice.
And Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew.
That is correct. I remember both those things. Everett McGill played Reverend Lowe, and he's been in a ton of stuff. He was in Twin Peaks. He was in Heartbreak Ridge. He was in Quest for Fire. I remember him from The People Under the Stairs.
Yeah, we haven't done that one yet. We used to call it the Rocker Dudes Under the Stairs.
And he was
just a little pale.
That's exactly. Well, they had that long kind of glam rock hair. And he was famously dressed up in a crazy gimp costume for half the movie for some reason. I don't remember what the idea behind it was, but
gotta get the gimp.
Corey Haim played Marty Koslaw. You know him from The Lost Boys, License to Drive, Lucas, and Silver Bullet. Very sad.
And the two Coreys.
He died 12 years ago at the age of 38. Yeah.
In the two Coreys, Corey Feldman was the voice of reason, trying to get him off of this and this and trying to help him jumpstart his career.
If Corey Feldman
is your voice of reason.
You just stole my joke. You know you're in trouble.
Boom!
That's right. Megan Follows played the older sister, Jane Koslaw. I actually recognized her. She was famous for being in the Canadian series Anne of Green Gables back in the 80s.
No, you and Brianna and the twins watching.
Not me. You think I was pulling up a chair to watch Anne of Green Gables live from Vancouver? Not me.
1 hour of television, or was that only inflicted on the older children in our house?
Pretty much. Terry O'Quinn played Sheriff Joe Haller. You know him from Lost from 2004 to 2010. He was in The Stepfather. He played Howard Hughes in The Rocketeer, and he was in Young Guns.
I did see Young Guns 1,000 years ago and never revisited. Did it get better with time?
I was very upset that they did not have the George Michael song, Young Guns, as the theme. Should have been, Young Guns having some fun. Crazy ladies keep them on the run. You know that one.
I do not.
You should. Google it.
I was not a big Wham George Michael fan.
Lawrence Tierney played Owen Knopfler, who ran the bar. You know him from, he was in Reservoir Dogs.
Yep.
He was in Bodyguard, Born to Kill. He was in Junior with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, he was in Seinfeld, where he played Elaine's father, and George and Jerry were terrified of him and trying to figure out how to escape the restaurant.
Well, what's interesting about that, you're right. He was in one episode as Elaine's father. And the plan was to bring him, that character, back multiple times. But the actor was so scary that they never did. They basically said, we're never bringing this guy back and we're not recasting it. We'll never see Elaine's father again. Very sad.
And yet, not so scary that they stuck him out in a swamp.
They stuck him out in a swamp. Very
That's so
sad.
hysterical. You know, I Googled him. You can't even imagine when he was a young child or a youngster, like his 20s, 30s, in like when the Kaiser was trying to take over Europe.
Yep.
He was a good-looking guy.
He was a handsome devil.
He was a handsome devil, like the person then versus now. Like you look at that face,
yes,
and you're like, where did that other person go? Because you can usually see. I mean, people just get kind of wrinkled and they lose their hair, but it's that person. Oh no,
not this guy.
I think he was body snatched. It was an imperfect pod.
Yeah, he was exposed to gamma rays or something. Shall we talk about the ratings?
Man in the Moon Marigolds.
That's
yeah.
exactly the effect of gamma rays. Currently, Silver Bullet has 45% rotten. That's okay. The audience gave it
a middle finger.
We give it the finger. 56%, so not much better. Let's take a look at top critics. Show me while you think about what kind of score you want to give.
Oh, I got it down. I don't have to think twice.
Think twice. There's another day for you. Okay, here we go. Roger Ebert. 3 out of 4. There are all sorts of sly, satiric touches in this film.
What the hell, Roger Ebert? Everything is 3 out of 4, 3.5 out of 4. Those are the only 2 ratings he gives. 3 out of 4 or 3.5 out of 4. I just listened to our review of Wrath of Khan. Same score.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
How could this and Wrath of Khan be the same score?
Only in the mind of a psychopath could these possibly be comparable films. What is your rating for Silver Bullet?
Oh, that's easy. 1 silver bullet right between my eyes before I'll watch this damn thing again.
This is not a 1-star. That is ridiculous.
I could have died and lived my life probably better not knowing that this even exists, because it's just so boring. I don't fall asleep in movies. So now there's
I
2.
often do.
Leprechaun in Outer Space and now Silver Bullet.
I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. Crazy little Corey Haim up in a tree. It's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. Not a good movie. It is kind of boring.
And yet, you give it the same rating of 90% of the movies, Roger Ebert, that we have watched. Defend thyself.
No, it's 60%. It is a 60%. It's a D-. I think it's a D-. It's not offensive. It's just kind of
I
Eh,
feel like you own this, so
I do
this
own
is
it.
part yeah, so it's like you have to justify in your own mind that, that it is worthy of the money you spent on it.
I have to justify the $4.99 I spent on it. I'm not gonna lie. I gotta do it.
It's still better than the $20 I had to spend to rent Cyrano, the musical, because I had friends coming over and it wasn't free on HBO anymore.
Are you talking
It
about
was
the new one?
yes, it is the worst piece of shit.
We almost watched that on the weekend.
Don't, don't, don't. You will thank me. And I love Cyrano. I read that book 10,000 times in high school. I have seen, you know what? Watch the Gerard Depardieu. You think this would be good? No. And the songs are terrible. And I had no idea it was a musical. And I like musicals. Yet every song was garbage. There was no emotion, there was no feeling. It takes place in France. Everyone has a British accent except our friend Tyron.
Tyrion
Mr.
Lannister.
Tyrion Lannister talks as he always talks.
Okay.
No.
If you want a good,
Gerard Depardieu.
go watch Roxanne with Steve Martin. That's the one you
I've
watch.
never seen that.
You are out of your damn mind. You're
No,
missing a
I'm a-
damn classic.
I'm a purist. I love Cyrano de Bergerac.
So thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at the podcast. Or that's not right. On Twitter, we're at you're messing me up. At T Podcast TW Die on Twitter. On Facebook, we're at the podcast that wouldn't die. Aaron, anything on Instagram? Should people check that out or just keep moving? What's the word?
This episode is such a claptrap of bleez blaz and blue. I'm afraid to give out our creds. People might show up and start burning down my Instagram.
They might.
But hopefully this didn't drive you all away. But we are the podcast that wouldn't die on the Instagram.
You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So make sure you like, share, rate, and review, won't you? Aaron,
Won't you?
aren't you
Yes.
on social media? What's your personal email address?
Should I just give out my home address and
Your
right?
social security number.
Oh, by the way, I am not going to buy Bitcoin from you because you're DMing me on Instagram.
Not
I
doing
don't know other parts of the country that may work, but it ain't working for me.
No
So,
kidding. Not in
cool your
Bakersfield, baby.
Yeah, and I'm not joining the Illuminati. I have been chosen at least 5 times this month to join the Illuminati.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Let's not be too hasty.
Direct messages. Anyway, for me, I am on the Twitter. I am the Cultivarant. I am on the Insta. I am the Cultivarant. I am also Don't Feed the Pigeons.
Later that year. Take your time, please.
We're making it longer. I am on Artsy and First Dibs. Aaron Doherty. Give me a Google and throw down your credit card because I don't go for cheap. Kevin's available. Do you have on Cameo now or?
I'm on Cameo, yes. I will. If you just want to mail me a couple bucks, I wouldn't turn it down at this stage of the game.
Fans only? Did you create a site there?
Chat roulette, whatever you want. We're down.
Is chat roulette still a thing?
Do not ask me. That's all I'm going to say. Next week, we'll be discussing the science fiction classic. I don't know if it is or not. It's the Tom Cruise vehicle Oblivion. And you can watch it on HBO Max. So good. If you have it already, if you're already paying, you don't have to pay an additional amount. So you're welcome. So check that out, would you?
Well,
For goodness
it
sake.
already sounds better than watching crap on Pluto with the 20 ads. So boom, that's what you get.
That's what you get, and you don't get upset. So there you have it.
There you
Thank
go.
you very much.
That's Those are words to live by, kids.
It's true. Be well.
Bye bye.